Hello there. This is MD with you here on GebZilla. This image we're going to create a kind of a vector poster effect. We're gonna take regular old images like this guy and turn them into cool stuff like that. Same with this. Took an image, made it kind of like a 3-color screen print style, and then we made this man into a bit of a stencil, and then we made it white and it got all creepy. No matter what you want to do, it's all pretty easy. Illustrator does all the hard work. Let me show you how to do it now. Alright, to get started, just create a blank document, any old size, and let's go to File, Place and Image, File, Place. In your exercise files, grab the one called Live Trace, and let's click Place. Now, it's very easy just to click, hold and drag this out so it fits within your page. It will just resize it if it comes in nice and big. So with it selected with your black arrow, head over here in your quick actions. There's this option called Image Trace. Get ready, click it, and pick one of these. Let's pick 3 colors. Now, kick back and relax. Now, it depends on your machine. Mine's a pretty good high-core machine. In terms of a laptop, it's still gonna take quite a while, so I'll speed this up. I'll see you in a sec. Alright, we're back. That took maybe another 60 seconds or so. If you've got a hand-me-down laptop, and your computer starts making funny noises, and the fans come on, and it starts overheating, just know that's really common. It's quite a stressful thing to have to do, so you might have to just relax. But it's pretty cool it's gone through and turned this into a 3-color document. It has used colors from says open the trace panel. It's not very long. Let it do its thing and come back after a cup of tea. The document to make them. Let's look at how to adjust the options. So hopefully you still got it selected. Over here where it says trace image, you can go through the presets. I'm not gonna go through them all because it says it takes a long time. We'll go through 1 or 2 more later in the class. But let's say you like this, but we just wanna change it a little bit. See this little option here? Says open the trace panel. And this big old panel opens up. Actually, yours is probably looking a little bit more like that. So make sure the preview is on. And what you can do, you can see here I can adjust the colors. I can decide whether it's black and white or grayscale. Along the top here are some other kinds of presets you can click on. The trouble with them is that they do take a while once you do click on one of them. So, let's go through and pick one of the other presets. Let's go to 6 colors. And then we'll do one more before we go. We'll go fast. Alright. So now pick 6 colors. It's quite cool. I love it. Cool stuff around here. So there's some really awesome stuff. Okay. So a couple of things I want to show you before you go off and start practicing with all of these. 'Cause there's gonna be a time where you're like, actually, I wanna. 'Cause what happens with image trace, it's this effect that always kind of runs. And it can really stress your machine out when you try to adjust things. If I rescale it down now, it's gonna freak out. So what we need to do, kind of like what we did with, remember the envelope distortion, where we had just the straight lines. Okay, there were rectangles. Then we had to eventually go up to Object and go to Expand Appearance. There's a similar sort of process for this. The trouble is that you can't have all these presets anymore. So that's the kind of trade-off. Let's close this down. With it selected is the word expand over here. We'll click on expand. Some more initial pixel clustering. Wait for that to finish. Alright. So it hasn't made a blue outline just 'cause it's selected. So click off from the background. And nothing really changed. Except now, what I can do is, Remember, black arrow moves everything around in one big go. Okay. A little bit slower. And let's go to the white arrow. Click off the background. And now we can say click on his shirt once. And then drag it over. Move the white arrow. It removes little pieces. And I can delete it. Or I'm gonna put it back. I'm gonna grab this chunk. And check this out. Cool. What you also might do is, let's say we've got this kind of accent color in his shirt. If you click on one of them, say you want to change all of the blue, you'd be there for a long time, right? So what you can do is click on one of them with the wire. If it's not working, just click off from the background first, then back on it. Then go up to select. I would like Illustrator to select everything that has the same fill color. Cool. It's a cool little trick. And it will go through the whole document and find that color. Now I can go to my fill and I can say you are now pink. Click off from the background. It's a nice quick way for doing that. Now, we've done it for the same color I use quite a bit through this image trace. But that's slick. Illustrator, when I'm doing maybe a design, maybe it's a website design, or something like that, and you're like, I want to change this color. But it's been used throughout your huge design. You can select the same color. Okay, so do your image trace. Get it how you want. And then click expand. Then use the white arrow to mess about with it. One last thing I want to show you is, it's really cool to do a stencil with this. We've done a kind of a full color image. What I'm gonna do is I'm just going to pull out mesh inches struggling with this. Just cause there's so many paths in here. Those anchor points. If I select over the white arrow, it kind of has a seizure. Look at it. It doesn't even want to select it. Many anchor points that make up this image. That it's gonna look cool. But it's gonna stress your machine out a bit. So many dots to select. Even clicking off brings up the bouncing ball of doom. So we're gonna bring in another image. Once this ball's gone. Alright, we have to fast forward that up. That took a little while. I'll leave it in there kind of just so you know if your machine's gone really badly. Don't worry, I got a pretty good machine here. And it's still stressed. Maybe because I'm doing video recording. Maybe even if it wasn't, it's still pretty bad. So let's bring in another image file. Let's go to place. And let's say I want to use this one here. We're gonna place that image in here, but I want it to be that stencil like you saw at the beginning. So I can go through and say, actually, image trace it. Let's go to a black and white logo. It's kind of half work, but what I really wanted was kind of the person without the background. And the way to do it, I need to jump into Photoshop. Now I know not everyone has Photoshop skills. Probably a lot of people will. If you don't, I have a Photoshop course here on the channel. Go check that out. We'll just do some really basic stuff. So I'm gonna delete that and I'm gonna open that same image up in Photoshop. So in Photoshop, File, Open. I want to cut myself out. A really quick easy trick is select and subject. It's a really cool new feature in Photoshop. If you got an old version of Photoshop, you might have to use the quick selection tool and magic. It's a little hard to see often in these videos, the marching ants around the outside, but if you can see them, it's done a pretty good job. And because this is a stencil, I'm not worried. I just want a real basic selection. If you don't have that cool little select subject option, just use this tool here. It's called the quick selection tool. And just kind of work your way around. Any which way you get a selection. I'm gonna use a really cheap trick. No, I won't. I'll do it the proper way. With the background selected. See, there's an option here. Make a mask. It's this little square with a circle in it. Let's cut out the background. Don't worry, it's all a bit chunky here. We should fix it. But it's not gonna make any difference to our stencil. Alright. Let's go to File. Let's go to Save As. And I'm gonna save it on my Assets folder. And my class files. Click if everything's okay. Close down Photoshop. Back into Illustrator. So if you tidy it up first in Photoshop, like that, just delete the background. If you are like, Photoshop's new to me, and I'm not gonna go do the course, just use the eraser tool, and just delete the background, because the stencil doesn't need to have a perfect edge. You can do something simple like that. So File Place. I'm gonna bring in the image that we put on our Assets folder. There he is. Drag it out. And because I'm all by my lonesome now, I can go through and do image trace. Go black and white logo and just doesn't have any of the backgrounds. Cool. Another weird thing you may face is, I think it's because we brought in a PSD instead of the original JPEG. But you notice the options have disappeared over here. Yours might not do this. So, if you can't find those cool options, we get to change it from 3 colors to 6 colors. You can get through it the long way by going out to Window and go to it's called Trace Image, and you get back into this little option. If you know why it's not happening, tell us in the comments down below. I'm not sure why. It doesn't matter if it's the black arrow or the white arrow. But anyway, we can get there the long way by going to Window, Trace Images, and what we can do is, this threshold is quite important when we're doing stencils, which is I lower it down and I can see a bit more detail, or at least you can kind of see what it's doing right. It's kind of lessening the dark areas. You can just kind of drag it up and down to where it looks good for your stencil. That's pretty good. Anyway, I'm gonna go back to something. Can I see the eyes in any of these? There's not a real good balance. But you get the idea, right? You can tidy it up in Photoshop, and then get this kind of nice, cool stencil thing. I want glasses and eyes. That's close enough. Now, remember, once you are finished, you need to expand this thing, which is not over here anymore. So we're gonna have to use the long way. I'll leave this in the course, because you might have the same problem. Normally, though, they're just over here. You can do the options, and do the expand. But that's the long way. Expand these guys. And now, I grab my white arrow. And this white stuff in the background. I'm gonna click on white. What I mean by that is, watch this. If I drag the whole thing, can you see it's actually a white background? So I'm gonna move it over here. To make it a bit easier, grab my white arrow. Click on it. I could delete it. But there are all these other white areas, so remember our trick. I'm gonna undo it. Select any bit of white. Then remember. Select same. Fill color. Look at us. Then hit delete. Alright. Now, we've just got my handsome stencil. Alright. That is how to vectorize an image. We did kind of a stencil style plus, I guess a color kind of Victor redraws style here. But, for now, that is us. We are going to jump into the next video, where are looking at exporting for print and for web. Alright. See you in a bit. Thanks for watching. MD was with you here on GebZilla.